welcome to PLUTUS IAS. This side is Sonali Jindal. Daily, we take up the daily news analysis of the Hindu newspaper. And today we will see 27th August 2024 news and the initial 1 minute. We firstly discuss which are the topics will be covered in the particular video so that you can skip to cover particular topics. First topic is caste remuneration should not hold the census, as the recent census 2021 is not been held till now, and India is among those 44 countries that has not conducted the census till now. And for this, one of the reason is being quoted is like we have to collect the caste data as well. So for this, the census should not be basically delayed. So basically, caste due to the caste data census should not be hold back. After that, next article editorial is on the heavy shackles of the fear and vigilance. So basically, the women basically face the fear and the vigilance of the state and the society, and how this is also a form of physical violence. This has been discussed in this editorial, and we will see how it can be used in the GS1 or in the essay maybe for the women empowerment. So this article relates to the women empowerment, and you can relate it to the Indian society topic in the GS1. After that, there is one article on the healthcare worker safety, as we have seen in the basically Kolkata case that has raised the question of the doctor's safety in the hospital premises only. And in fact, in the past, in 2017, there was a strike and protest by the doctors for asking for the safety. And in fact, in the 2020, during COVID-19, there were also again the questions of the safety and the violence among the doctors, and in that we government has also brought the ordinance for the safety of them. After that, there is another news that talks about the whale should not suffer if basically surety cannot be given. And although this article exclusively can't be used as such, but we have discussed in the past days as well that there is a basically rule of bail rather than a rule of jail. We will try to basically revise those topics and where it can be used and how it can be asked in the exam. We will discuss this can be related with the governance GS2, and the prison reforms, police reforms can be mentioned, and there is a need of the bail reforms as well. And this also basically increases the basically possibility of asking a question on the bail in the prelims itself. Different types of the bails available can be asked in the prelims examination. Thereafter, few of the articles relating to the prelims, as our education minister has defined recently what is a full literacy. And then in that article, new India literacy program that was brought in 2021 budget, and this has been mentioned here, so we will discuss about the features of it. And in the yesterday we have discussed what is unified pension scheme and what is the difference between the old pension scheme, new pension scheme, and the unified pension scheme. And currently in the newspaper, this is a news that Punjab and Haryana government employees wanted the old pension scheme rather than the unified pension scheme. We will revise what are the features of the UPS, as we have discussed already in the last lecture. And thereafter we will see places in news, that is in news of the South China Sea. I hope the topics that will be covered are clear to you. Moving to the first news that says there should be no more delays, as the caste remuneration should not hold back the census from being undertaken quickly. So basically, caste data should not delay the census, because census is a very important parameter that can be used in the various schemes. And this article has also highlighted, as the government has blamed the COVID-19, but other than 44 countries, more than 200 countries have already conducted the census. We also should complete this exercise so that the dispute between the center and state will not be there, and between the states as well. For example, it says caste census, basically it's a comprehensive enumeration and collection of the demographics and the socio-economic information on the Indian population, specifically focus on the caste affiliations. Basically, caste-based data is being a comprehensive collection of the caste data, so that basically we can bring more reforms to reduce the inequalities among the caste. And in fact, it will also basically reform our reservation policy as well in the future. And but considering the incomplete and poorly constructed nature of the socio-economic caste census of 2011, you need to understand one thing. In fact, even the census 2011 also collected the caste data, but that was poorly collected, and this can evenly basically result in the unusable data, and that is of no use. So we should not hurry to utilizing such kind of data, and there should be a definite time frame to conduct the census on the war footing. Reason, I have already told you, the quoted is the COVID-19, but other countries have also collected this data. But this article says if the delay is deliberate by the government, then it will definitely impact over the public policy and also hamper the relationship with the states. You already know there is a debate as the census data on that delimitation basically is being done in the constituencies, and that can raise the debate between the North Indian states and the South Indian states, because they have worked heavily for controlling the population. So for after 2026, we have to use this particular data for the delimitation. This gives you homework that you should read about the delimitation commission and how many times it has been basically constituted, as it has been already asked in recent 2024 exam. So after that, as of June 2024, 233 countries has basically conducted the data census, but India is amongst them that has not collected the data. Importance of the census needs to be understood, that continually delay, we have not basically delayed or failed in collecting the data census from 1881 to 2011. This gives you prelims information that the first census was conducted in 1881. And this has highlighted how the basically different schemes are dependent on the census. For example, National Food Security Act. In fact, our basically food security is dependent on the census data. If we don't have the population data, then how we can frame our schemes? And in fact, National Social Assistance Program is also dependent on them. And we need a migration data and about the urbanization, so that our policy making can be better governed and betterly framed. If both the policies are betterly framed, then only the question of the implementation arises. So the conclusion is basically we need not to basically rely on the sample surveys that are conducted quarterly or maybe monthly basis, but we have to complete our census so that we will be able to implement those kind of schemes for achieving the sustainable development goals in a better way. Moving to the next article, today's newspaper is having almost 4 to 5 editorials that is talking about the women's safety and the exploitation faced by the women. You can see the basically headline of this editorial, which can be used directly in the exam. For example, it is saying how the woman faces the range of aggressive behavior and the violence that woman faces. And in fact, it is highlighting some of the issues in the basically achieving the woman empowerment of the or the woman's safety. For example, it is saying there is an issue of safety and spaces for the woman. So issues of the safety for the woman, and the other one is advocacy of the societal responses. In the yesterday lecture we have discussed how the basically women victims do not want to register their basically complaint as the society does not show the correct empathy towards them. In fact, our society is having a misguided empathy and also blames the victim itself, like how she could not step out in the night, she should be wearing this particular kind of dress or something, she should behave in a some kind of behavior. So society has put some kind of restrictions on the woman behavior itself. So these kind of restrictions are also a form of physical violence only, and this editorial talks about this. And after that, it has highlighted how the justice system delays has also basically delayed in achieving the women empowerment. We have seen as recently HEMA committee report has come up that has highlighted the issues faced by the women actors in the film industry. It has highlighted how the sexual exploitation is being faced by them. But you need to understand, as that case was filed in 2017, but till now the trial has not been completed. So delay in trials also increase the cases of the recent cases that we are seeing. And after this, let's discuss about the editorial. It is talking about the basically absence of the adequate structural protection. Due to the absence of the structural protection to the woman, the safety of the woman is dependent on themselves only. It's like, for example, if police will not reach to the crime area or the region quickly, then woman has to protect herself quickly on that situation, and it impacts the career choices to the personal relationships of the woman. So it is the having a broad impact on the woman. You need to understand from career choices to the personal relationships. And it has declined the job opportunities because, for example, if the job requires a late night presence of the woman, then she would choose to leave that job, and she will even avoid the promotions if she has to shift somewhere else. And after that, the simple pleasure of the leisurely walking the public park, that is not available to her because she is having the constant awareness of the potential threats. If a woman is having a awareness that the potential threat could be there, the some crime can happen in this particular park, then obviously she will not be able to walk in that park. And the issues highlighted this by editorial is like it could restrict their personal, material and psychological growth, and it is also having the intergenerational effects. How it is having the intergenerational effects, you need to understand, if the mother is having the fear, then it will definitely pass on to the daughter, and she will try to protect her daughter in that way, and that also creates a basically intergenerational basically conflicts as well. And these protective measures thereby imposed by the family and communities try to basically impose restrictions on the woman for their safety, and that creates a restriction in her psychological and the career growth, and it creates a dissonance. You can relate this topic with the GS4, cognitive dissonance, because she wants to live freely but she has to be safe, so she has in dilemma which of the option she should choose. So she stays in the dissonance to how she should behave. And the other thing that is highlighted by this editorial is like, even this kind of violence and the discrimination is more in the other caste and the religions, because the privileged caste and the class backgrounds, at least they are having a safer environments. They are having a gated societies or the private transportation as such. But if they belong to the vulnerable caste or the vulnerable class, then they are not even safe in their home premises as well, because might be they are living in the co-sharing apartment, so they face more discrimination and the assault. After that, it is highlighting what will be the impact on the Indian society of this kind of situation. Woman has to basically prioritize safety over the curiosity. So basically, we are not letting her to enjoy the full spectrum of the human experience. She has been denied to experience those full spectrum, and the unseen and unspoken burdens that women carry, the emotional strain, physical fatigue, and loss of joy and the freedom are significant as the physical injury. So if the question comes on the violence among the women, you can mention this kind of physical injury as well, as she has to choose between the basically safety and the curiosity. She has to choose whether she should move for the career, or she is having a constant awareness of those potential threats. This is also a basically violence. In one society or the community puts unnecessary restrictions on a woman on the name of safety, this is also a violence. You can mention about it, and you can talk like our legislation is not basically talking about it, and due to the lack of structural protection, she is basically responsible for her own safety. So we need a structural changes to increase the protection, and the way forward is we need to broaden our understanding about the forms of violence. As I have already told you, we need to include this kind of violence also in our discussion, so that better can be done for it. And it is about unlocking the full attention of our half our society. As once IMF chief has already said, if the women participation can be increased, then the India's GDP could increase by the 27% of the GDP. And our forefathers have also said that a bird cannot fly without one wing. Similarly, India cannot fly without the half of its population that a woman. We need to work on the female labor force participation rate. As we have discussed, this is around 23%. In the past editorials, we have discussed as the step taken by the Kolkata government by basically reducing the working hours of the women. That is not a way forward to go in such kind of situations, because it will again hinder her career choices and the growth, and it will decline our female labor force participation rate. This is currently low, that is around only 23%. So we need to basically fulfill the potential of the our half of the population by including the basically this kind of violence in our discussion. I hope the basically relevance of this editorial is clear to you, and you are able to understand how this can be quoted in the women empowerment, how this is an important issue and what can be done for it. After this, there is another editorial that talks about the crime, health, worker safety, and the self-examination. So basically, this editorial talks about what kind of problems are being faced by the doctors in the basically hospitals itself, what kind of issues are there. That is why there is a violence seen among the doctors who are called to be the goat. And there are issues like we have seen a series of vicious attacks on the medical personnel that was visible through the 2017 protest by the doctors, and there is the issue of the underfunding. For example, we have already brought a Doctor Safety Protection Act in 2020, that too by the ordinance, but the problem is there is a underfunding there is a lack of infrastructure for the safety in the hospitals and strong likelihood of the deep rooted of the organized corruption. So one situation is there is a underfunding due to which the infrastructure could not be built. Another problem is there is a organized corruption. In fact, for this, WHO has highlighted that the corruption claims $455 billion annually worldwide. So internationally, the basically corruption cost in the health sector is the $455 billion. This is way above the amount required for the universal health coverage. It means if this cost can be basically saved, then we can achieve a universal health care for all in the international world. And after this has also highlighted that there is a rapid breeding ground for the expansionary corruption, including the worst forms of the sextortion, particularly in the political system, underfunding and the oversight run life. I hope you are able to understand. This article is highlighting some of the issues in the healthcare sector due to which the safety among the doctors cannot be achieved. For example, we are not able to build the infrastructure. There is a lack of infrastructure for the safety. There is a problem of underfunding. We are not implementing our laws in a better way, and the other thing is there is a organized corruption in the healthcare sector. So the way forward that is highlighted by this editorial is, as our in the case of the Kolkata case, recently Supreme Court has constituted the National Task Force. We need such kind of task force to work more independently and to find out the ways for the safety. And it has to strengthen the hospital safety so that doctors will be able to work in a better environment. We need to build infrastructure like CCTVs can be increased, and there should be a greater security presence and the safe night transports. Apart from this, there is a need of devising a potent roadmap so that we can prevent and arrest the medical corruption. Firstly, you always need to understand what are the issues there, so that only you will be able to write the way forward. If you don't know that there is a problem of the corruption, then how you can write about reducing the corruption? So the most important thing while covering any of the topic, you need to understand first the issues or the challenges therein. Thereafter, you can think of the way forward by yourself also. So basically, we need to build a national task force, and we need to revise a roadmap so that we can reduce and arrest the medical corruption. In this, we need expert inputs. We need to bring experts into the formulation of the roadmap, and there should be a speedy delivery of justice, so that the threat and the basically law implementation could be in a better way. I hope you are able to understand what this editorial talks about, and you can relate it with the GS2 healthcare sector. Another way forward is we need to basically bring the administrative transparency, accountability and the oversight. We also need to basically bring the whistleblower protection reporting as well. So the Whistleblower Protection Act need to be more strengthened and better implemented. And in fact, this act needs to be basically applicable to the private sector as well. Till now, it is not applicable to them. Private sector should be made compulsory for the private sector, and protection mechanism should be there. Thorough digitalization of the public management systems should be there, and there is a need of the ombudsmanship and other instruments to minimize the political intrusion. I hope you are able to get some of the ways that can be quoted in this. In fact, this kind of information can be used in such kind of scenario, like for example in the GS4, if any case study comes like such kind of incident has happened and what kind of steps can be taken for it, and you can use these kind of steps for there in the case studies as well. After this, there is a bail should not suffer due to the one's inability to find the people to stand surety. Basically, in this article, there is one convict or a person that is under trial. He is not able to basically bring the people to stand for his surety, as the one of the family members, and the family members are not basically well enough to come to the court. In this scenario, court has highlighted that there should be a bail, there should not be any bail denial in such kind of scenario. And in fact, we have seen in the Until case 2022 that has also highlighted that there is a rule of bail, not a jail. And on the basically under trial issues, as we know, there are many under trials. Around 70% of the jails are overcrowded by the under trials. And in fact, in the Justice Krishna Iyer 1977 that has talked, there is a rule of bail, not a jail. So maybe in the coming mains, they could ask what are the changes to be basically made in the bail provisions of India, and what are the changes in the legislations are need to be brought. And in this also, you need to mention about the cases recently happened, and you can mention about this Girish Gandhi case and the Antil case. You need to quote the basically Supreme Court judgment in this regard. Here, the Supreme Court has said judges could not shut their eyes to the hard realities of the life. Although the sureties are essential to ensure the presence of the accused released on the bail, but at the same time, where the court is faced with the situation where the accused enlarged on the bail is unable to find the sureties, then he cannot be denied the bail, because it is an implicit right as a fundamental right to bail under the Article 21. So maybe in the prelims they could ask basically right to bail is provided in which of the article, then Article 21 will be the answer. As in the past they have already asked the right to privacy is implicit in which of the article. So you are able to understand that there is a rule of bail, not a jail. Maybe in the coming prelims or the mains, this question can be asked. Next article, we are moving towards the prelim bids, where the basically I have already told you Punjab and Haryana employees are talking about we need to dismiss the unified pension scheme and there should be implementation of the old pension scheme. You can refer to the last videos to see what is the difference between the OPS and UPS and the NPS. But in brief, I want to tell you in the unified pension scheme and the OPS, there is one difference, that is in the UPS, employees will also have to contribute 10% of their salary, but in the OPS, only the government basically contributes. And in this, there is a guarantee of the 50% of the basically salary as a pension, but only if that person has completed the 25 years. Otherwise, if less than 25 years, then he will get the pro rata basis pension, and if he has completed more than 10 years, then the guaranteed pension of 10,000 will be given to the person. In this, guaranteed 50% will be given, and there is also provision of the dearness allowance, same in the old pension scheme. It means basically it is a inflation indexed, and other thing is it is not a market linked, as the funds are not being invested in the market, but this is a market linked and it is also inflation indexed. I hope you are able to understand the difference between the OPS and UPS, but to better understand what is the other features of the UPS and what is the difference between the UPS, NPS and OPS, you can refer to the previous video. After this, another article that talks our education ministry has defined what is a full literacy. So this article talks about one of the program that was launched in the 2021, and that is to be basically implemented from the 2022 to 2027. It is about New India Literacy Program. And in this program that has been launched by the central government in 2021 budget, here it talks like non-literates aged above 15 years and up will be covered by the scheme in all states and the UTs across the country. It will work in conjunction with the NIC and then the NCRT. So basically in this, the people who are non-literates and aged above 15 years, that will be covered under this scheme, and it is covering all the states and the UTs. Other features of this, the objectives of the scheme is to build the critical life skills of the students of the country population and to build the vocational skills so that they could get a local employment, jobs can be built. And we will also work on the basic education that is available in the primary and the middle and secondary education. After that, we will also work on the continuing education, engaging holistic and education courses in the arts, sciences, technology and culture. These are the objectives of the scheme. It can be asked in the prelims examination, as recently in 2024 they have asked multiple schemes, and it will be implemented through the volunteerism, through the online mode, and all the material will and resources will be available digitally, and the school will be treated as the unit for the implementation of the scheme. After this, this article also talks about why there is a need of such kind of scheme, because in the census 2011 it is highlighted that there are around 25 crores, those are non-literates, and among the males it's around 9 crores, and among the female it's around 17 crores. So this is the non-literate population, and in fact this data can be used in the mains examination to show about the non-literacy, and you can use this scheme as a way forward if any question comes on the GS3 education or the GS2. If any question comes on the education and if you have to write about the government steps taken for it, you can write about the New India Literacy Program. And in the prelims examination, they can basically ask about the features of the scheme. We have discussed the objectives of the scheme, and it is taking the non-literates that are above the age of 15 years, and we have discussed the objectives. Thereafter, we have discussed that schools will be taken as a unit, and it will be a program that will act as a on the digital mode. Last news, that is about the places in news. In the current article, the newspaper talks about the Sabina Shoal. You can see this on the basically map also, where it talks about the recently in the Philippine Sea, Sabina Shoal, that is located in the South China Sea, is the disputed between the China and the Beijing. And in the past also we have discussed South China Sea dispute is always stay in the news. You need to see about the other islands as well from yourself only. For example, there is a Spratly Islands, Parcel Islands. This can be asked as a basically location mapping question in the prelims exam. And for you need to revise the South China Sea mapping. There also you can see about the Asian countries as well. We have discussed this already in the past. So hopefully you are able to understand how it can be asked in the prelims exam, and try to see the Sabina Shoal in the South China Sea, and also locate other islands as well that are basically disputed with the China with the other countries. We are concluding today's discussion, and we will meet tomorrow at the same time for the daily news analysis. Thank you and all the best to all of you.